Are you the kind of player that likes to play flying characters? Or do you have a dungeon master that absolutely hates you playing flying characters? And do you absolutely hate your dungeon master, so you want to really play a flying character? Well, one of the greatest writers on the Dungeon Masters Guild has built a very cool, very funny and a little ridiculous module with 12 new flying races for Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Hi there, fellow Dungeons & Dragons players and Dungeon Masters alike. I am Mr. Tarask, still your go-to YouTuber when it comes down to Dungeons & Dragons, the 5th edition, third-party modules, books, everything, Kickstarters. I point your noses towards things that I think are really worth it. If you like what I do, if you want to see me point your noses towards third-party content for the world's greatest role-playing game, make sure to click that subscribe button below. There's also a button where you can become a member of my channel. If you do, that would mean the world to me. It is $1.99 a month, less than a cup of coffee for you probably, but for me it means the world. I can continue my channel, I can continue with what I love to do, and that is review and preview and do flip-throughs of third-party content of Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Anyway, Birds of Paradise. Now, oh damn. Okay, Birds of Paradise is a module by Florian Emmerich and Katrina Bresnik. I have never heard of Katrina. I'm sorry, I have never really heard of her. I don't know what happened. She's probably very famous and very good, but I personally, her name never popped up. But Florian is one of the minds behind, or maybe even the mind behind, one of my favorite one-shot adventures, Shore of Dreams. You probably heard me talk about that one a lot of times, and right now he has a new module, and he has different kinds of modules. I've done a lot of reviews of his modules because I like his writing style. I like the way he works for Dungeons & Dragons, the way he thinks. I just like his stuff. And Birds of Paradise, he sent this to me a few weeks ago, and I have to say, at first, it didn't really pop up for me. And that is, for me personally, I think the artwork is a little bit on the, it's a bit, I don't know, it's a bit too much for me. Too flamboyant, if that is the correct use of that word. Artwork for me personally, I mean, the artwork is very good, it's very well made and everything, but it's just not my kind of artwork per se. But then I started scrolling through it because it's by Florian, and if it's something by Florian, you scroll through it, and I really like it. What is Birds of Paradise? Birds of Paradise is basically a module with a lot of sub-races for the Aarakocra and the Kenku race. So the flying races in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, the Kenku and the Aarakocra race are PCs. You can build a character with those races. So if you use this module, you need access to the Aarakocra and the Kenku. Just saying, you need access to those. Very short access, but you need access to those to create one of these characters. And right off the bat, I'm going to say that although these are subclasses, these are only subclasses. At least in my opinion, these are only subclasses mechanically. Mechanically, these are subclasses, but flavorly, or in terms of flavor and world building, these are actually just races by themselves. But mechanically, it's just very convenient for them to use the races that are already there. Just to put this short, if you play any bird you want, the Aarakocra or the Kenku, you just take away all of the ability score increases and you take dexterity +2. That's the basic thing you take. You take let's say you take an Aarakocra and you take dexterity +2. That's your Aarakocra right there. But you're not going to play an Aarakocra because this booklet it's all about sub-races, but it's not like sub-races in the Aarakocra, because many of these aren't really, at least in my opinion, in my mind, in my imagination, aren't really Aarakocra. For example, there's the Baldurian Owl, which is an owl creature, and it goes off of the idea of the Aarakocra. So you take the Aarakocra and you take dexterity +2, and then you can get ability score increase. Your wisdom increases by 1 because you're an owl, a wise owl. And the cool thing they do with this module is they give you some lore they give you some I know a piece of text about this subclass subrace, about this race, where they live, how they live, what they do. Then they give you the stats for a player character. For example, this one has wisdom +1. Then it has for example, touch of saloon or something like that. Basically, it means that you can give somebody, you can, if you hit somebody with your talent attack, you can give them, you can create a halo around them, like with light, a light halo around them, and other creatures have advantage on their attack against them for like once per turn or something like that. So that's those kinds of mechanics that are in here, and they're different for every subclass, which is very, very cool. But the cool thing they do is this I like very, very much. There is actually the page after the page for the player. There's a page for, say, the dungeon master, because there is a NPC stat block. There's an NPC stat block. Just going to check if I'm still recording. Yes, I'm still recording. There's an NPC stat block next to every, on the second page of every subrace. For example, this stat block is Kui, Protector of the Wood of Sharp Teeth. He has a stat block. He has a challenge rating of 4. You can use him as a NPC, you can use him as a villain, you can use it as whatever you want, but it is there, and there's a lot of lore when it comes to these NPCs. So with this module, you don't only get stats for a player. If you want to play like an owl as a player, you can play an owl now, but you can also, as a dungeon master, have an owl, for example, a NPC with, like, there's a short lore page about this. It's not long. It's not entirely all pages upon pages. It's just, this is it, and this is an NPC, and the rest is up to you for your imagination, of course. Again, when I do these reviews, I have flipped through these, but I haven't written them like word per word. So sometimes I have to look at these texts and have to see what exactly the wording is, and stuff like that. This one I really like. I really like the artwork. It is so over the top that I just like it. It is the it's a flamingo. Basically, it is a freaking flamingo. You can play a freaking pink flamingo in Dungeons and Dragons now, thanks to Florian and I forgot her name already. I'm so sorry, Katrina. Oh, that's actually the same name as my sister, so I'm going to remember that now. Katrina, I'm so sorry. You can play a freaking flamingo. I mean, that's so cool. I mean, that's so cool. And one of the cool things is they really tried to balance things out here, because of course you are working with flying creatures, and a lot of people have difficulties with flying creatures in their games. A lot of dungeon masters don't accept them. A lot of players are like, why should you be able to fly and my character needs to walk? I, for example, have been the dungeon master of a player who was playing a flying creature, and I absolutely loved it, because he got in more trouble because he was flying than it actually helped him. He was like hovering 5 feet above a super wild ocean when suddenly a wave hit him and he just drowned and he died. That's basically what happened. So to all you dungeon masters who don't accept flying creatures, make sure to rethink that. It is because they are flying that they are open to new hazards like wind, like fire, like smoke, like water crashing into them. All that stuff really adds to the game for them and really gives them a weakness upon their strength. And Florian and Katrina do the same thing here. For example, with the Flamingo, they call it awkward flyers. You're not as accustomed to flight as some of your kin. Your flying speed is reduced to 30 feet. And I think that's cool. They call them awkward flyers, because flamingos, they're awkward flyers. They can fly, but awkwardly. If you have ever seen one of those big birds, any real big bird like a swan, um, if you ever seen them start flight, then it's actually it's very very cool to see, but it's kind of awkward in a way also because they have to walk on the water to get going. And I think it's cool they have that here. Again, there is an NPC called Flam, Wanderer of the Delhi. Again, a challenge rating. Oh, this is only challenge rating 1/4 creature. So they do. There's a hummingbird, a fey wild hummingbird, like a little tiny hummingbird. It's ability score increase, charisma +1, talents. This is weird. Your talents do 1d2 slashing damage on a hit. 1d2. So I don't know if it's ever worth using your talents, but then again, you're a hummingbird. Your size is of course small, and then you have lightning fast. Once per long rest, you can use your bonus action to double your flight speed for 1 minute. That's cool. You can basically double your flight speed for 1 minute. You can basically dash as a bonus action, but only when flying. Um, I mean, that's cool. You play a hummingbird. You're like a small creature, and as, on the picture here, you can see it has like a little small sword, which is I don't know, more looks like a tooth of some kind of creature, and it has a shield, which looks like the outer part of a walnut, which is a sword and a shield, which is very very funny and a very cool thing to add to a game. I don't know if I would ever play a hummingbird, but I would so play a flamingo. I would so do this. So yeah, and again there is Eric, leader of the Free. Then there is hellish pit Pitu. Oh man, Florian, you're making life very hard on me. There is other stuff. There is this guy. There's other cool ones. There's other cool ones. I'm just gonna look at this one. This is a cassowary or something like that. This is like a crazy bird-like man who probably is a monk. He has ferocious speed. You can double your speed for your turn once you use a strat, blah blah blah. Vicious claws, adapted for survival. You gain proficiency with the skills of your choice, survival, stealth, nature. Like this is like the monk or maybe barbarian type of creature, and he looks like a rooster, but he's blue. I'm not a bird person, so this is probably based on an existing bird, but I'm not a bird person, so help me out here in the comments below what exactly this is, because I do not know what this is. But I just wanted to flip through this module, and then I'm not going to give you every trait. I'm not going to talk about all the lore. I'm not going to talk about like all the NPCs in here. I just want to say to you guys this exists. And if you want to play flying creatures, there's not only the Kenku and there's not only the Aarakocra, there is also these subraces, and I'm putting this between brackets because there are subraces only mechanically. I mean, they're races by themselves. You can see it for yourself. They're races by themselves. There's crazy races. There's this parrot type dude who does magic, who looks like he stole the clothes of Aladdin and then stole a spell book or something. There's this dude surfing a board like he's Legolas, surfing a shield like he's Legolas. It's a penguin. It's a freaking penguin. You can play a freaking penguin. I need a sip of coffee. Oh, by the way, if you want to buy me a coffee, make sure to click below, become a member on my channel. You'll buy me a coffee every time you do that. Every time you pay once monthly, you do that. Which would be completely awesome. Icewind penguin traits. Let's just dig into this one. The following racial traits: ability score, constitution +1, which makes sense because they live in very cold environments. Well, not all of them do on planet Earth, but maybe in your Dungeons and Dragons game they do. Let's see. Marine hunters. You are accustomed to hunting for your meals in icy waters of the sea of moving ice. You have a swimming speed of 30 feet and a proficiency in the survival skill. This replaces your expert forgery and Kenku training abilities. So you can see they give them abilities, but these abilities replace other abilities, and that I think is really really awesome. It's pure mechanically take the Kenku or take the Aarakocra and then get new stuff, but also take out other stuff, and you become an entirely different race. For example, a freaking penguin, which I really like. They get a swimming speed of 30. So then basically means you have a walking speed, you have a you have a walking speed, a flying speed, and a swimming speed. That's but the trade-off is of course you need to give up of your expert forgery and Kenku training abilities for that. There's of course again a challenge rated 5 penguin called Swoosh, Swoosh, which is very cool. There's other birds in here. He looks weird. It looks weird. Seed Eater. Okay, these are basically now. By the way, we arrived at the Kenku race because there was some races based on the Aarakocra and others are mechanically based on the Kenku. So these are based on the Kenku. There's this samurai ninja type of. I think she's female type of Kenku sort of bird. And that's it. That is basically it. What I have to say is there are trash mob minis you get when you download this. There are more extras you get when you download this. It is very worth downloading because I mean it's a few dollars, right? And it is new races. It's a bunch of new races written by a person who I believe is one of the greatest writers on the Dungeon Masters Guild. Yes, Florian, I think you are one of the greatest writers on the Dungeon Masters Guild. I still believe that, together with some other people, together with JVC Perry, together with Jeff C. Stevens, together with other people. I'm forgetting a bunch of them. And I think this is just one of those little extra things you can get and you can throw on your table. Well, not literally, because you will destroy your laptop if you throw this on your table, or your iPad or whatever. Or you can print it out and throw it on your table, and your players will be, and you can tell your players, hey, I got like flying creatures here, and if you want to play a flying person, there's no problem. Play a flying person. Here are more races to choose from other than the Kenku and the Aarakocra, and I really, really like that. So this was not really a review, this is more, again, a flip through. I was just taking a look at a module that really interests me, and there's a bunch of birds in here. Well, there's one bird in here called the Flamingo I really want to play, and there's a few other birds in here I will tell my players about, and I just hope that if flying creatures, flying PCs, interest you even the tiniest bit, make sure to click the link in the description below, and I hope your inspiration may guide you.